Hello and welcome to Creative Cut Talks, the show that aims to promote sustainable visual arts and to bridge the gap between art creators and consumers. Today we share a topic that has been debated over the years, a topic that has raised a lot of questions and still leaves a lot of people perplexed. I'm your host, Chawa, a visual artist who has rented and sold her work internationally to private clients, public figures, embassies, corporates, just to mention a few. In my selling expeditions, I often have received a lot of questions and comments with regards to pricing. Some cite that I'm cheating myself, while some believe the figures are absurd. And this is probably what multitudes experience. So do stay tuned with us as we unpack what makes the price of an artwork, how artists price their work, and why some art pieces cost millions. So making art is about the individual's personal creative process. The experiences created may come from within or may be observations in cases of commission work, while art pricing is about what is happening in the art market. As such, market forces largely dictate how much artworks are worth. This suggests that to better understand pricing, we ought to understand how the market works. The art market is quite interesting. Generation Z and younger millennials are at the early stages of changing and spicing things up. However, it is important to note that currently the market is still more inclined to its traditional ways. The art market operates in an economic model that is a hybrid of the prediction market. Art is bought and sold based on the predictions of perceived cultural value as well as past and possible future monetary value. This was initially swiftly achieved and widely accepted over generations, basically because the market has been described as one where producers didn't make work primarily for sale, a market where buyers often have no idea of the value of what they're buying, and furthermore, a market where middlemen routinely claim reimbursements for sales of works they've never seen from buyers they'll never meet. In addition to this, the art market is hardly ever transparent. Private sales data is not systematically available. And by the way, private sales are said to represent over 60% of the art market transactions. One may wonder how this lack of transparency is possible. Well, this is due to the fact that in more advanced countries, established visual artists are hardly salesmen. They are undersigned under galleries, museums, management companies, and/or any registered middlemen who actively help promote, sell, and brand both the artists and their work. These pieces may be sold online, in auctions, directly to the customers and collectors, or even in the black market. There's usually an agreed sales commission and buyer's premium for the middleman, but little proof of how the actual sales transactions happen, with who and for how much. In most cases, artists also do not understand their contracts as well as their intellectual property rights. Now, with all that being said, the big question becomes, then how do we price art? Let me use an example of a used car to attempt this explanation. Let's say a lady who bought a local 2007 car model from a reputable car dealership, say at $100,000, wants to sell the car now in 2021 to give way to a new one. Say the market is currently littered with import models of this car and even later models being sold at anything from $10,000, some by reputable import car dealers. In this case, trying to sell the car at, say, $40,000 may result in the car not being bought. Unless the mileage is super low, it has never been in a car accident, has some inbuilt enhancements, and she's just a great negotiator. Similarly, when you price art, you must make sure that the prices make market sense and they're justifiable by art criteria, such as depth of the artist's resume, previous sales history, as well as the actual quality of the work. The two biggest factors that determine art pricing are market comparables and the artist's profile. The better the profile of the artist, that is his or her education, social profile and credibility, career profile, exhibition and philanthropic achievements, and lately, social media and internet presence, the higher the price of their work. Of course, all these cannot be quantitatively proportionated, but at the end of the day, art prices are about who made the work. Collectors gain more sentimental value and desire to pay more from knowing who made the artwork. The other pivotal factor is the market presence and buying power of the middleman. Market comparables, the middleman's profile, and their sales capability then determine the reality of the sale. If the middleman can organize a high-spending audience and ultimately close a sale of, say, $100,000 in artwork, then it makes absolutely no sense to sell for less. There's absolutely no limit to the roof price, especially in auction sales. In auction sales, depending on the audience and purpose of the auction, there's a set minimum price, but we know how it goes. This is where we usually find pieces that go for millions, if not billions. Now, looking at where Generation Z and millennials are actively evolving to. This revolutionary generation is intentional about creating art for a living and selling art to better their lifestyle. They do not subscribe to the sentiments of making money from art after they are dead. They question and even ditch middlemen in cases they suspect foul play. But we must note there's a downside to not having a middleman. Artists with no middlemen are compelled to spend hours that could have been spent on creating more works, on marketing their work, an expertise that most artists lack. This usually results in lower pricing, and one way or the other results in lower returns for the artist. To see how the middleman, or absence thereof, influences pricing, let's look at another rough example. Say a reputable management company that sells internationally to collectors and commercial galleries has contracted an artist to, say, 50 artworks per month and sells them for an average of $30,000 on monthly average. The company pays the artist 50%. That is a monthly average of $15,000 without the artist having to bother about anything outside the studio. Then compare to when the same artist decides to market themselves. Say they are now narrowed to a maximum of 20 pieces a month, and their limited marketing and selling presence records a highlight of $5,000 per month with inconsistent sales performance. This shows that reduced commissions and sales or marketing expertise result in extremely low pricing, something that may be advantageous to consumers but very detrimental to artists and the creative economy. On the other hand, the upside with this new movement of artists is that their initial pricing is more guided. Generally, for commission works, artists may have standard prices based on size and media, while some base their pricing on reference picture. For both commission and non-commission works, there are few templates that have been shared over the years that attempt to guide pricing. The essence is to calculate all costs of materials and any resources used in creating the work, labor charge, talent or sentimental charge, and then compute the profit margins. At the end of the day, the artist decides what they want to charge, and it's up to the buyer to either purchase or pass. Well, that's all for today's episode of Creative Cut Talks. Thanks for tuning in.
Creative Cut, filling the creator-consumer gap.